Here we go. I already started a little bit off, left my mic. Can you bring it down a tiny bit? Hey, welcome to our dating series, week 3. Oh, I'm so glad you're coming back for more, so hopefully you're learning something, a little something. So we're gonna jump right back in. If you have not been with us, if this is your first night, we have been covering all kinds of different subjects, but last week I started us on the path of walking through and understanding what happens, what is activated, what goes on in your mind, in your heart, in your body, in your soul even, when you jump into or you begin a romantic relationship. Okay, we defined the 2 different types of dating. The dating of, hey, I'm just asking you to go on a date, not to start dating one another like boyfriend and girlfriend. That actually has to be defined these days, because as soon as you ask somebody to go anywhere, it's like, you want to marry me? It's like, no, whoa, come out. Or your friends are the ones that are like, oh my gosh, you're going out with that guy? Are you guys, how many babies are you gonna have? It's like, what the heck? Calm down, relax. They just asked me to go, to the movies. So we had to define that. Now, we covered these things called dials. Okay, these things called dials that in a progression of a romantic relationship sometimes. Okay, what happens is we try to put into a linear space what isn't very linear in your world. Okay, there's a lot of emotions, there's a lot of things that happen, there's a lot of things that are going on. But what we talked about is that when you cross a certain line into a space of actually being a couple, of saying, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend, into a romantic relationship, these dials start to turn, okay? We had these up here, these hourglasses, that as soon as they're turned, it's like a timer goes off, okay? For some of you, depending on your maturity, depending on your maturity in these areas, depends on how fast those turn. But the clock does start ticking. That you're going to get to a certain place where you're going to get to a certain spot where you can't turn anymore unless you are actually in marriage, because it was intended for marriage. If you want to hear more about that, come back next 2 weeks or go back and listen to the Talk Last Wednesday. Selfish plug. Now, here's the thing. What I want to talk about today is that yes, we know that these things are being activated. We know that these things are being affected in these relationships that we jump into. The reason why we wanted to highlight them was because no one tells you about these things. They just say, go try it out. And you just jump right into it, like in the wilderness, into the unknown, like Elsa, right? Just trying to figure it out. Just trying to, wow, they like this one. So you jump into this space not knowing what the heck is really going on. And so that's why we unpacked that, and I hope that was helpful for you. Today, I want to talk about how, with this as our foundation, okay, now, how do I date? Who should I date? Hey, I'm dating someone, but I don't know if we should be dating. Is it healthy? Should we break up? Hey, I want to break up, but I don't know how. Yeah, that's what we're going to get into today. You guys ready? All right, so first things first, we'll start a little mild, okay? First things first. If these things are spaces and areas, these effects, these emotional, physical, psychological, spiritual, if these things are important because they're activated when you jump into a romantic relationship, and I encouraged you last week, hey, what if, maybe, because I'm not going to tell you what to do. I already know you're going to do whatever the heck you want to do anyway, okay? But what I will encourage you and invite you into is this. What if, instead of going and just trying to jump into some relationship to see how it feels or to see how it goes, what if you focus on maturing these spaces in your life first? I invited you into that. How? How can we do that? Well, there's all kinds of ways, and my hope is that we can have conversations, or you can have conversations with your leaders in your group. But here's a few things that I will, right off the bat, some of these you could probably write yourself, I would encourage you to focus on. The first one will always be this: to focus on the truth of Christ. Spending time in His truth. So that could come through worship, through scripture, through prayer, through church, through life groups, through connecting with one another or talking to a friend. Learning and growing spiritually in Christ will mature you in such a way that not only will you now understand spiritually where you stand with the Lord and in your identity with the Lord, but also to be able to have the Holy Spirit guide you. The scriptures literally tell us that the Holy Spirit will be he'll guide us, he'll nudge us, he'll encourage us, he'll remind us of truth. Flags, red flags, you don't want to go into that relationship. Like, the stronger we are in the Holy Spirit, he will guide us in those truths. So that's one. Mentors is another one. And what I mean by mentor is not your best pal. That's not what I mean by mentor. You're my mentor, right? No! I'm talking about somebody who's like steps ahead of you in life. I don't understand sometimes why we say, oh, I'm good. I've got friends in my life, and they speak into my life. It's like the blind leading the blind, man, because they've not gone through what you've gone through. It's not because their advice might be bad. It's because what do they know if they've not been to the place that you're trying to get to? But mentors in your life, adults that you trust, you see their relationships maybe, and you trust their relationships. What truth can they bring to bear? That is also helpful. And the other one, and the third, and I'll leave it at this, is time. Time is important. The longer you grow in these areas, or you will give yourself space to grow in these areas, the stronger you will be. You will find yourself practicing your strength as you live out your life. As you grow in these, time is very important. Not to rush, not to just be sitting there waiting. Who's going to like me next? Who am I going to like next? What relationship can I jump into? You may never say that out loud, but inside you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of us in this very room cannot wait. You're only single because no one's asked you out. Truth bomb. You're not single on purpose. There's a difference. Purpose. Intentionality. We'll get into that a little bit more later. Okay. Before I address who should you date, let's address the idea of the one. The one. Is he out there? Is she out there? First of all, I think you're asking the wrong question. That what about the one question? If you go down that rabbit trail, who is the one? What if I miss the one? What if I'm not worthy of the one? You will just go silly in the head. It is just the what if game. You're talking about future stuff, unknown to the simple mind. That's God's stuff to worry about. God knows who he wants you to be with or who you're going to be with. You cannot control that. Yet we try to, right? Matthew 6:34. Therefore, do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. What if you can just control you? Just worry about you. Because the better question is, am I becoming the one for someone else? That's a different question. All these things I just went over can be your focus. What if I focused on me? I becoming the one, whatever the heck that means. The best version of yourself that you can be. Because you're not going to be perfect. You will never hit perfection. And may I say just that real quick? If you're obsessed, if you have an obsessive list, or you know a friend, maybe you can encourage them with this. We'll see if it's encouraging. But they have a list that is a mile long, or you have a list that is a mile long, meaning your want list in a guy or in a girl is just forever long. Let me ask you, let me just tell you this. You're probably not good enough for that list. So these standards that we set that are so high that you somehow made up in your head. It's so funny because some people will, oh, this is what I'm looking for in a guy, or this is what I'm looking for in a girl. And I'm like, dang, girl, if you find him, are you good enough for him? You're like, oh, that's harsh. I'm like, I'm just saying, because what you're defining for me is a fantasy. It's not even real. Am I saying don't have expectations? No. Am I saying you shouldn't think about values and what you want in other people? No. I'm just saying, is there a balance there? We're gonna walk into what to look for. But I'm saying sometimes we've set the bar so high, no one can meet it. Not even Jesus. Like, that's weird, why would he? Matthew 6:33 says this, but seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Where's our focus? What are we looking for? Again, if you're constantly looking to fill all these areas with just a relationship first, I would caution you. You're asking the wrong questions, you're starting in the wrong space. Also, guess what? It actually doesn't hurt to pray for the future, for your future husband or your future family. When I got married, I don't know, I think it was Thanksgiving or something like that. But I was having a conversation with my wife. My wife's name is Nicole. And we were there, we were just talking about like what it was like growing up in her home and blah, 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 blah. And how, you know, like the routine when her parents would put her to bed. And she remembers that her dad would lead her in a prayer for her future husband since she was little. Okay, I'm married now to Nicole. So in my mind, who were they praying for? They were praying for me. And if you go learn my story and where I came from, you better believe that I believe that some of those prayers protected me from things that I could have gone down some serious ugly paths where Nicole and I could have never been a thing. That's powerful, man. You don't have to pray for a name. You don't have to go down a list necessarily. Just say, Lord, you know the future because you live in it. Or, you know, I pray for my son or my daughter's future spouse, that you protect them, that you look after them, that you watch over their family, that you get them to my kid safe and sound. Why not? Just saying. Prayer works. It's a beautiful thing. So, let's have a little bit of fun. How do I go on a date? Hey! Listen, a lot of what I'm going to say is based off of this, okay? This is our foundation. So, okay, how we're wired. If you didn't listen to talk number 1 because you weren't here, that's okay. Go back and listen to it. But it's based off of how we've been wired initially. So, here's what I'm going to say. I want to talk about some like best practices, some like specific things, how to ask, how to say no. And, you know, we'll see what happens. So you're like, I would never say that. Well, maybe you should try it. Boys. Listen, I don't know why. I don't understand. Okay. That's not what I meant. But here we go. Boys, usually okay, now know this. Right now, I'm talking about the first definition, which is you're just asking someone out on a date. You're not, proposing. You're not like trying to say, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend. You're just asking them out on a date. We covered some of that stuff in the last couple of Wednesdays, okay? Usually, remember, based off of this stuff, remember guys, take some tips here. The girls, they like to be pursued. They like to be asked. They like to be made special. It's part of why some of our guys here are asking a girl to dance. They're bringing flowers. They're making them feel special. They're singling them out, right? Making them see seen. Is that a word? Feel seen. Very good. Feel seen. Okay, that's important, right? So usually, I would encourage you guys that you should be the one that asks, to step out there and ask. Some of you guys are like, dang it, I was hoping you were going to tell the girls to ask us. Nope. Unless you're doing the Sadie's dance, this is not that. Okay, so, simple way, and is very easy. Hey, Nicole, that's my wife's name. I was wondering, would you be open to going on a date with me? So simple. Literally, it's just English. That's all it is. Like some of us think, guys, that you need to come up with this like cool line or this like way to like wow them or like what is like the perfect line. No, literally as simple as, hey, Nicole, would you like to go on a date with me? Or hey, what are you doing Friday night? Would you like to go on a date with me? Here's what not to do. Ready? Hey, wanna hang out? Boys, read the room, dang it. Okay? Read it. Girls are literally telling you right now. This is, I should charge. Listen, listen. Shh. Focus. I know this is fun, but listen, guys, I should charge you right now because this is free stuff. Listen to the girls and what they're saying and how they're even acting out in this very moment. You using lines like that are so vague, that are not clear, it's not the way. Right? Go back and listen to talk one. Be very clear. What do you want? Hey, would you like to go out Friday night? Maybe use a date. Maybe use a time. Maybe negotiate or talk about where, what we're going to do. Are you going to go out to dinner? Are you going to go to a movie? Whatever. It's very important to be clear. Clear with what you're asking. This whole like, let's go hang out thing, you know what that is? That's actually your mind just trying to dodge rejection or trying to dodge clarity or trying to dodge whatever might come out on the other side from the young lady, okay? But that's not helpful because now what are we actually doing? What does that mean? Hang out what? Clarity is very, very important. Okay, here's some best practices when you actually go on a date, guys, with a young lady. Ready? When and if you go pick them up, do not, I repeat, do not text for her to come out. Do not holler. Definitely don't honk the horn. That's not a thing. Okay, girls. That's not the thing. I'm starting to feel that this happened to some of these people in this room, which is just sad. All right, but listen. That's not the way, okay? That's not the way. You go to the door. Yeah! Hey. All right, who's a guy in here who's gone on a date before? All right, Jackson, come here. All right, so we're gonna pretend like Jackson is, aren't you dating Lexi? Great. All right, so he's gonna come pick up Lexi, okay? And I'm gonna pretend to be dad. Sorry, Lexi. Okay, so let's say he comes, okay? He needs to like get out of the car, right? Okay, oh, then you don't have to pretend, that's fine. Okay, just stand right there. You're just a prop right now, watch. Okay, so you knock, right? And when and if a parent opens the door, okay? Here's very important, guys. This is what you don't do. Okay, let's switch sides. And your dad, this is what you don't do. Hey, is Lexi home? No! None of that, okay? You want to be confident. You want to look them in the eye. You want to shake their hand. Very good. And you want to introduce yourself. Hello, Mr. Whatever. Hello, my name is Jackson. Whatever that is. Now, focus here, gentlemen. He's looking me in the eye. And he's giving me a good, strong handshake. Here's what dads hate. I will tell you this right now. Even moms. They hate the dead fish. This. Hello. Or this weak handshake. Now, don't go too crazy, guys. Okay? Don't like try to hurt them. Right? Because now, if you do that to a dad, I guarantee you immediately be like, you're trying hard, bro. You're trying way too hard. What are you trying? You trying to challenge me now? Because I'll take you outside. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no need for that, okay? So, shake their hand, see them in the eye, listen. And if you come inside, you engage, you talk with them, you actually have conversation. You don't just sit there and hide like a little scared puppy. Thank you very much, Jackson. You can have a seat real quick. Firm handshake, look in the eye. Guys, I know that we live in a culture that's like, we don't need no man. Okay, relax. We're not talking about that right now. We're gonna talk about like, hey, we're just be chivalrous. Just be caring. It's okay to open a door for a girl. It's totally okay. All right? I know the world's saying like, no, they don't need you, or they're like confused or whatever. Nope, just do it anyway. Okay? If you need to get in a conversation about that and they're just gonna be like, I don't need you, why are you doing anything for me? Maybe that's a flag already. But I digress. All I'm saying is like, there's something beautiful to holding your door. Now, also, when you hold the door, we miss this too, gentlemen. Okay? We will like, here's the door, right? And she's coming like right next to us, or right behind us, or whatever. And so we go and we get the door. Don't do one of these. Please, no, don't do that. It's a little silly, okay? Either, if it's a swing door, okay, maybe you go in and you gotta hold it, that's fine. I'd rather you not do that either. I'd encourage you not to do that, right? Or you open the door and you step out and you let them go through. It's totally fine. It doesn't need to be awkward, it doesn't need to be weird, right? Trust me, they're noticing those things. Doors to the car, same thing. Yo, just get in, girl. No. Especially on a date, okay? Maybe you're like 20 years married later and you're like, just get in. Okay, but like, open the door. Like it's something beautiful there's gestures there. You're showing something good. Okay, these are just, again, best practices. It's up to you. Gentlemen, how you receive a no. Okay? If they say, and we'll talk about this in just a second, but if they say no to you, by the way, you're gonna get no's. It'll happen. But if you do, okay, here's line. I'll give you this line for line. Ready? And if it's not helpful, then ask somebody else. I'm trying here. Okay, no problem. That's the first one. Okay, no problem. Just been meaning to ask and wanted to take a chance. That's it. Simple. You walk away. Unless you're like Curious George, you don't want to be like, why? Ladies, listen, you probably don't want to know. You don't want to know. Now, like I said, unless you're Curious George and you really want to know, okay, make it extra awkward and ask. And we'll see how that goes for you. Right? Okay? Like, oh, tell me exactly what. It's like, I don't know. Maybe walk away. Okay? The other thing, guys, if you tell a parent or you agree to a certain time to bring their daughter back, you better be early. It's just be early. Respect, honor. It's very, very important. Okay? All right. Ladies, let's talk to you for a second. Okay? If you say yes to a date, fantastic. That's easy, right? Yes, I would like to. Thank you. Whatever. Okay? But if you say no, I would encourage, be kind and be clear. Right? You being like, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm washing my hair that day. Or I need to talk to my friend real quick, and then you just ghost them, or you run. Or like, oh, I think I'm helping my grandma with something that day, or something like that. That's not clear, that's not kind. You know, listen, ladies, if you know you don't want to go on a date with this person, stand your ground. You don't have to be mean either. You can be totally kind about it, okay? But also, it's not very loving when you're not clear, when you just play a game with them. Because you are so selfish, I would say, in that moment, to be honest. Just be honest. You don't have to worry about how he responds. That's his problem. That's not your problem. Listen, I say this for both ends. If you decide to ask somebody or to try to get involved with somebody in the dating world, how they respond to that is actually not your problem. That's their problem. If they're not mature enough here and here to be able to accept a no or to be able to give a no, that's on them. They got some work to do. And that's okay, because we all do. Okay? So ladies, it's as simple as, I'm flattered, but no thank you. It's very simple. You're like, wow, that's mean. Well, say it with a lot more kindness in your voice then. Okay? Or if they ask you like to the spring fling, which I'm going to talk about here in just a second. I'm flattered, you already said yes to someone else, or you're planning to go with someone else. You say that. I'm flattered, but I'm going with someone else. That's it. Again, you don't have to feel their feelings or protect them from themselves. That's on them. They got to deal with that. They got to handle that. Fair? Just be clear. Guys, would you like for ladies to be clear?
Yes. Please.
Right? Remember the box? Remember the boxes? Guys are in that box of like, I need to know yes or no. You said all kinds of words except yes or no. My box, I'm hurting. What's happening? Right? Okay? Directed to the point. Okay? All right. Here's some best practices, ladies. Like I said, be clear and kind. I would say this actually to both guys and girls. This is more like when you're actually in a relationship, but even if you just showed up to pick them up to go on a date, I would encourage you in this, you guys. Never, ever, ever. This is just, again, best practices. I don't know your families, and you can talk to your parents and all those things. I would discourage you from going in each other's rooms. Like, especially like first time. When like you came over and you came to meet family and whatever. Don't do that. That's not safe for you. You know which dial I'm talking about. All right? But also, you're saying something about yourself to those around you. This is a little trick I want to give you. And this might sound odd and weird when I say it, but just follow me for a second. You can actually train the people around you on how to view you. Let me say that again. You can actually train the people around you on how to view you. It's not manipulation. It's how you present yourself. It's how you carry yourself. People immediately will start trusting you, not trusting you, thinking certain things about you, making stories about you in their head to a certain extent by how you carry yourself, how you talk, how you dress, how you act. All those things matter. Okay? So guys and ladies, when you show up, you're immediately training people on how to view you. Another thing, ladies, I would encourage you to do in this. If you meet a family member of the guy, or you go over and you meet mom and dad, or whatever, engage in conversation with family and friends. Jackson, come back up. This is what I'm saying, girls. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Okay, and you're like, I would never do that. Just follow me for a second. Okay, sorry, dude, I'm holding your hand. Okay, let's say on his date. Okay, this right here. Don't do this. He goes somewhere. Go somewhere. And you just don't do that. Yep. Because you're in his home or whatever, right? Don't do that. Engage with people, right? Stand your ground. Talk to people. Get to know them. Ask them questions. Think about questions that you want to ask the family, the friends. Especially with friends. Okay? If there's anything that can really rub a guy the wrong way, is when girls are just not even caring to engage with their friends. Like you literally could care less. But I'm telling you right now, here's another free one for you, and I should charge for this. You engage and at least connect with their friends in such a way that you're like, you got to know their names, you maybe ask them whatever, because guess what's going to happen as soon as you leave the room? No. Hopefully not. But if your boys are like, bro, she's cool. Now what are you thinking? That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a good thing. Thanks, Jackson. You're doing so great. Okay? Okay? Because listen, may it work out or not. Here's what I knew. I think I may have said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Here's what I knew Nicole was really, really extra, the one for me. We went over to my grandfather's house. It was me, Nicole, and our friend Roxanne. Roxanne's Hispanic. Nicole is not. She's an Irish, white, redheaded woman. Okay? We show up. Immediately my grandfather thinks, who's my girlfriend? Sorry, it's just the way it went. Thought it was Roxanne. Introduces himself to her, immediately engages with her, connects with her, talks to her, right? But here's what my wife didn't do. With my wife now, she wasn't my wife at the time, we were dating. She didn't go and pout. She didn't go and just sit by me. Oh, this Mexican family doesn't like me. No, you know what she did? She went and engaged my family. And before you knew it, she was actually in the other room in the kitchen talking and having conversation with my grandfather, where they have a language barrier, and yet she was still trying to connect with him. That's when I knew. Because she stood her ground. Listen, it may not necessarily go to marriage, ladies, but you know what would be so awesome for you, and I encourage you, is be memorable. Be memorable. That if it doesn't happen to work out, and you guys went in your own directions, that parents were like, yo, what happened to like that one girl? Oh, mom, dad didn't work out. Dang, man, we loved her. She was awesome. Right, ladies? That feels good. Be memorable like that. Because why? Not because you did a show, not because you tried to just impress, but because you showed your personality, you held your ground, you looked people in the eye, you shake hands, you were engaging. Guys, I would encourage you to do the very same thing. No need to hide, no need to be shy. None of those things are necessary. All right. Let me talk about spring fling for a second. Here's why I want to talk about spring fling. Because it's a practice field. Anybody in sports here? Okay, great. Okay, it's a practice field. Hopefully all of you practice for your sport. Okay? We're teaching you things here like how to ask, how to say no. We're teaching you all these things. Other few things that I would encourage you, maybe your leaders can talk to you about is like, man, how when you show up to spring fling, do you, again, hold the door open for them, or like maybe pull the chair out and wait? Until they start sitting down before you push the chair in. Don't hold it too far, because that'll end your day quick. But like how not to force it, those types of things. The beautiful things, important things. Now, the reason we're doing spring fling is part of it is to celebrate all that we did this month with the series, but also, like I said, it's like a practice field. It's an opportunity for you to take a swing at a date. If you want to, you don't have to do that. You can go with friends. That's totally fine, okay? But here's an opportunity, because guess what? This doesn't happen very often in your world. Now you'd be like, well, we have proms and we have winter formals. No, those are dog-eat-dog spaces, and you know what I'm talking about, right? Because you're just like freaking out. Is he going to ask me? Is he not going to ask me? But he asked me, does he like me? Does he not like me? That's weird. Then my friends watched it at school. All those things are going on. This does not have to be that thing. Honestly, my hope with the spring fling is that it's an environment where brothers and sisters in Christ can practice just saying, hey, can I take you on a date? Because I've never done this thing. And I'm not asking you to marry me. I'm just asking you to go to the dance with me so I could try this, taking someone out on a date out. I just want to try it out. I've never gotten a chance to do that. It's going to be awkward. That's okay. Live in the tension of that awkwardness now rather than later when you come across the person that you really, really, really want to be with. What if? What if? Here's an opportunity for you to ask just a cool girl, someone that is a friend of yours, out that you're like, there's nothing here. I'm not trying to pursue you in that way. I just like to show you a nice time one night at spring fling for 2.5 hours. That's it. We're good, right? And ladies, guess what? It's also an opportunity for you to say yes. Because maybe, just maybe, you don't get asked by the guy that you really want to ask you every single time. So how often do you get to say yes? I don't know. Here's an opportunity. Just try it. See how it goes. Gentlemen, it's an opportunity to practice awareness. Something that we don't do very good at. We just don't, because we're in our box, focused on whatever the next thing is. But awareness, what I mean by that is this. Ask the girl maybe that you know someone hasn't asked. Like, but I don't know her. Who cares? I'm not asking you to marry them. They're not asking you to marry them. And here as a group, being respectful enough that, hey, this is like a practice field. We don't need to throw gasoline on a fire that's not there. Like, there's no need for that. We talked about this night one, right? We're obsessed with relationships. So we're like, who are you into? Who are you into? Who are you into? So a lot of times nobody asks anything for for anything. Because they're too shy, they're too afraid, it's not safe. So this is an opportunity, or awareness in this way. Maybe you go in a group with friends, and you see someone sitting there, no one's asking them to dance. Go ask them. I remember me and a couple friends, when we were in high school, we would go to these dances. They were called the Mormon dances. So we'd go to these dances. We did, they're great. So we'd go to these dances, because they have on Friday nights. And we would go, and here's what we would do, exposing so much. Here's what we do. We literally would show up just because we wanted to dance. We wanted to have a good time. We liked it. It was fun. And we would see girls sitting on the side like it was a junior high dance. Right? And it was so sad because they got all dolled up, all dressed up, and went trying to have a good time. So what we would do is we would ask them for a dance. And we'd bring them over, and we'd have a dance, and then we'd go dance with other friends and do something else. We weren't necessarily committed to them for the rest of the night. Wow! What an idea! But here's what's crazy. Ask me if that girl sat back down. No, she did not. She stayed, she just wanted to be asked. She felt awkward, she felt weird, she didn't have a date that she went through with it, she wanted to feel included. That's all she wanted. But as soon as she was brought into the space of dancing and moving around, she had a great time, and that was it. There's something beautiful about that. Being inclusive. Who doesn't want to be asked? Who doesn't want to go and have a good time? Why does a dance immediately have to turn into this, I love you, I don't love you, we're together, we're not together, he's super into me, he's not super into me. Why does it have to do that? And also, the rest of you, why do we do that to our friends? There's no need for that. There's no need to make it awkward and make it weird. But we do. And that's a bummer. And my encouragement and invitation to you would be that let's not do that thing. Okay, we got still stuff to cover. You guys still with me? All right, who should you date? I love it. Me. That's right, baby. You. Okay, listen, first of all, these are characteristic traits. These are just, look, we're not looking for perfection, remember? Okay, I'm not, even when I say these things, like if you're looking for perfection, good luck, okay? Because none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. Thank Jesus for the gospel and what he did, because he's the one that's perfect and he makes us perfect. Amen. So when I say these things, please don't hear me saying, ooh, it has to be perfect like this. No, these are ideas. These are things that you can maybe think about. Again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm giving you thoughts. Because for some of us in here, sadly, no one has told us these things. Now, for some of you have very involved parents in a good way. And I would encourage you, if you haven't had those conversations, hey, mom and dad, simple question, ready? Hey, mom and dad, what are some values you think I should be looking for in a guy or in a girl? What are some characteristics? Man, if you haven't had that conversation, ask them. I guarantee they'd love to have that conversation with you, okay? But for those of us who won't do that, or don't have a chance to do that, here's just some things to think about, okay? For the guys and the girls. When you're thinking of, here's some characteristical traits to think about. The first one is this. They tend to protect others. Do they tend to protect? No, those aren't it. Those aren't it. Those aren't it. Those aren't it. That's later. Get that out of here. Okay, this is something else. Okay, here we go. Do they tend to protect others? Guys and girls. Here's what I mean by that, okay? And I don't mean this in a weird way, just hear me out for a second. What we learned in week 1, all that information, guys, about the girls and girls about the guys, we can use those to our advantage to take advantage of the opposite sex. That's not what I gave you that information for. It was actually to respect and understand the differences. That's why I gave it to you. If I knew in high school about girls, what I know about girls today, not good. Not fair. Not good. Because it wouldn't be safe. I didn't know Jesus. It's not a good thing. Okay? I use it to my advantage, actually. And sadly, some people do know those things out there, and they take advantage of others. They don't protect others. So when it comes to guys, when it comes to like how you act toward ladies, how you flirt toward ladies, gifts giving, you know, there are ways that they're wired and taking advantage of those things. Are you actually protecting them, looking out for them, or are you taking advantage of those things? Guys, or ladies, you know, at the same time, the flirtation thing, the modesty thing, you're learning how guys are wired. Are you using it to your advantage, or are you actually protecting others? That's something to look at. The other one is this. For guys, like ladies, for the guys, that they practice staying away from indiscriminate eyes, meaning that there's some control there. There's not just like untamed eyes, no control all the time, just looking and looking and looking and gawking, and it's not safe and it's not good. Look out for that. That's important. I'm gonna fly. Sorry, guys. So if you can't write fast enough, I have these for you later. I would say look out for insincerity. Man, like, what do they say? Do they say what they mean? Like, and mean what they say? Like, does their word matter? Ladies, I would look out for that. Are they sincere? Do they lie a lot? Careful. Are they just telling you what you want to hear? Also, ladies, I would encourage you this to look out for, and guys, purity of motive. Purity of motive. What I mean by that is, are they just on the prowl? Like, is their motive is to just get a girlfriend? Or to just, you know, get a girl in bed? You know what I mean? That lives out there in your world. You know this. What is their motive? What's leading them? What's controlling them? That's important. How about this one? Are they even aware, guys? Are guys even aware that at some point they're going to become the spiritual leader of a relationship? Like that's key. If you're already seeing ladies, they don't care to talk about God. They don't care to read the Word of God. They don't care to go to church. They don't care to grow in the Lord. Again, flags. Think about that. Because it's going to come to a space and a place at some point where you will have to make a decision about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Guys, things that we can look in girls. Again, I already said the protecting of others. I would also say this, guys, as you look to characteristics in ladies. Do they practice staying away from consuming tendencies? Meaning, especially in relationships, when they jump in and it's all about 100% the relationship only and that alone. It like drives them. It consumes them. God's not even in the picture. It's just between you and Him, and that's it. Friendships aren't in the conversation. Careful. Just a flag possibly there for you to look out for. Guys, be aware. And again, these can go both ways, by the way. Okay, that's why I'm kind of like interchanging. Manipulative. Are they manipulative? Here's what it looks like. Ladies, I'm not attacking you, just hear me out, because it's probably not you. But guys, moody and pouty mind games all the time. They're playing mind games on you all the time with their moods and their poutiness. That's a thing. That's manipulation. Or they use their physical or sexual attention or non-attention to get their way. Woo! That's a thing. Look out for that stuff. Does she pursue purity of intent? Again, I said this earlier. Is she dating for all the wrong reasons? Because she's just looking out for an emotional, physical, popularity, loneliness. She's just trying to fill something there. What is the motive? What is her intent? Those are things to look out for. And again, I'm not telling you, are they good, bad, right, or wrong? I'm just saying, be curious about those things. Is that the type of relationship you want to be in? Because I guarantee you, there's going to come a time where you may end up in some crossroads. You're like, I don't agree with that. Or I'm not for that. Or this is just irritating. Or this is just too hard. Or, oh my gosh, what could this be? These are things that could potentially highlight that for you. And I already said this one. She pursues singleness on purpose. Or he pursues singleness on purpose. Again, they're not just single because no one asked them out. Or they just don't happen to have a relationship. But it's because, no, I'm content. I'm good. They're not just sitting waiting. Who's the next fish? Who's the next person I could be with? Careful. You're like, that's weird and creepy. Yeah, they may never say it out loud, but it's what's going on in their head. Now we can go to some of these here in just a second. Questions you can ask yourself. You can just take a picture of this on your phone. And I'm going to go through them real quick. Questions you can ask yourself. Remember, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to pump you with information. You do what you will, or we can have a discussion about these things. Here's some questions you can ask yourself before you go and jump into a relationship. Or maybe you ask yourself this question now within your relationship. Okay? Ready? Here goes. For guys, this is the guys want first? Yep, the guys. Ask yourself these questions, guys, about her. Does her commitment to Christ match yours? Here's what I mean by that. Okay? Don't you get all holier than thou on me. Am I a better Christian than them? None of us are better Christians. We all stink. But here's what I mean by this. There's something called being unequally yoked. Immediately we jump to this idea of a Christian and a non-Christian. Okay, which by the way, just side note, if you're going to get into a relationship with a non-Christian, once again, careful. Careful. I had one time a girl say to me, oh, I've been dating this guy, and he's not a Christian. I think he can spell God. But, you know, she didn't say that. But she goes this. She goes, he wants to have sex. And I'm like, you should have sex. Now, this was not a student. Parents, relax. This was a friend, okay? And she's like, what? But you're a pastor, why would you say that to me? I'm like, listen, obviously you know my position. But why I'm saying that to you is because you are treating a non-Christian as a Christian. You are putting your values of a Christian upon a non-Christian. What do you think he was going to want in some time, you guys dating? In his world, couples that have been dating for however long have sex. So all of a sudden, it's like you didn't know that? Of course you knew that. But you weren't thinking about that. Because all your emotions and your feelings were up here. He's so cute and I'm going to bring him to the Lord. Okay, good luck with that. And now all of a sudden, you're struggling because he doesn't view things the way that you view them. Too late to be having that conversation. I'm just saying. Like, it's so interesting to me how we want to date non-Christians, yet we want them to act like Christians. We want them to accept our values. So I'm just saying, be careful with that. I'm not saying really go and just do the thing. What I'm saying is, do you even realize and you understand what you're saying or what you're thinking through? It doesn't even make any logic. You know what I mean? Like, we cannot put Christian morals upon non-Christians. Why would we do that? Why would we expect that from people? So that's part of here. Do they match? So unequally yoked, unequally yoked, that's important. Following Jesus, not following Jesus. But even within the same the relationship of two people who do know Jesus, when I say match, because some of us, listen, we've been believers for a long time. Maybe we've matured in these areas or with Christ way further than the person that wants to date us or wants to be with us. That happened to me with Nicole. She literally said to me, we dated for 2 days. 2 days! And then we came out of a youth group night and we both felt like the Spirit was saying something, and I'm like, dude, did you feel that? She's like, yeah, did you feel that? And we're like, we gotta break up. And she literally she says this to me, dang that girl. She says to me, Arnold, I just know that I need someone in my life that I'm in a relationship with who's at least at the same level as I am spiritually or above me to lead me. What? Okay, I wanted to go in a hole and cry. But she was right. I had no business in a relationship at that time. In fact, I can almost guarantee I would have ruined what God has now had for us if I would have forced it. And again, I thank God for moving in us and putting people in our life that guided us and led us through that. And that was a hard decision to make, and we didn't actually start dating until a year after that. Talk about difficult. Let's keep moving. Does she act/dress modestly, not drawing unhealthy attention from you or others? I say that because guess what? Girls can walk around being totally modest and still draw attention. And that's okay. That happens. We live in a world, okay? And I say that because of this. I also had a friend at one point who did dress modestly, but I'm sorry, and she would be fine with this, and my wife would be fine with this. She was an attractive young lady. But here's what happened. Guys, Christian guys, who couldn't control themselves, would literally break up with her, say to her, "You're too tempting." What is wrong with you, bro? And hurt her. So it can happen on the other side of the spectrum too. Insecurity can come in with that. We got to be careful with our words. Does she point you to Jesus even if it means breaking up? Oh. Come on. Maybe. Does she value your friends and the accountability you need with your relationships? Or is it always just me, about me? Does she have a desirable character? Meaning, is she a gossip, disrespectful to you or others, emotionally, physically, time-wise, financially overbearing, jealous? Guys can lean in this direction too, but there's a bend there. A lot of this can happen to both sides. But these are things and questions to ask ourselves. I gotta fly because I got one major thing that I want to cover, and we already hit 8 o'clock. Ladies, here's your questions. They're very similar. Does he commit to Christ? Does he commit to Christ? Wow. Does his commitment to Christ match yours? Does he have the desire to lead your relationship spiritually? We talked about that already. Does he point you to Jesus even if it means breaking up? Does he value your friends and the accountability you need with your relationships? And here's a little different for yours. Does he have a desirable character and integrity? Is there profanity, coarse joking, disrespect, being overbearing emotionally or physically, or jealous? Like those are all things, again, that can be interchangeable, but these are just a good place to start. Now, I'm going to take up another 8 minutes because I want to talk about actual situational relationships, things that are actually happening, particularly breakups. Okay? Some of us in this room, you know you need to break up. You already know. You're just maybe waiting for a blow up or a big disagreement, which is kind of sad. Okay? Because here's how breakups usually go. Let's talk about this for a second. Okay? In our world, a lot of the times, before the actual blow up, like, I hate you, I'm walking away, whatever happens, whatever the drama, there's probably been weeks or months before that one or both already knew we probably shouldn't be together. But you've been forcing it. Okay? Because we hate confrontation, we hate the awkwardness, and we're big people pleasers. Okay? Instead of doing the mature thing, the selfless thing, and saying, you know what? This isn't working out anymore. We need to move on. Okay? So already I'll encourage you in that immediately. Man, if you know you need to break up, do it. And do it lovingly and kindly as possible. Okay? Now, here's one thing that I want to talk about when you actually do break up with someone. Here's what happens a lot of times with my students. They break up, right? They cross these lines, all these dials went off. They break up, and then what do they say? Let's just be friends. And then the back and forth of the texting, and maybe let's get back together, and then we keep talking at night, and you still keep pretending like you're a couple because you're just friends. Listen to me very carefully. I've watched relationships for over 20 years. You cannot be friends with the person that you were romantic with immediately after a breakup. That is not practically. That's impossible. Because you need to give your time, your mind, your heart, all of these four areas, you need to give them time to dial back to some normal. You understand? So if they're still in your world, guess what's still active? These are. So you know what you need to do? You actually need to go, like Monopoly, you need to go back to start. Which was what? Strangers. Some of you right now are like, I literally hate you. Look at me. Listen to what I'm telling you. You need them out of your life to some extent. No texting, no calling, no hanging out. No, hey, we'll just talk twice a week to see what happens. Nope. You got to get back to the stranger place. Oh, stranger things. You got to get back to stranger things. Wow, I love that. Okay, you really do. Listen, am I saying you need to live here forever? No. Again, I don't know the time to get back to just acquaintances or maybe back to friends. I don't know how long it's going to take to be here and stay here. But you going from here directly to friends, impossible. That's not going to happen. Because you haven't given yourself enough time to heal and to come back to a neutral spot. And you know why that's important, you guys? Because a lot of us get out of relationships. Maybe you don't become friends. But you know another thing that happens? You don't focus on healing these. You don't focus on bringing these back down to neutral. And you know who pays for it other than you? No? You know who pays for it other than you?
The next person.
Exactly. The next person. Because some of us, check this out. Some of us went here, whatever, in your relationship, and you never worked on healing, yet here comes the poor next guy or next girl around. And they don't get the opportunity to start in a balanced place with you. They get to just pick off where you left off with the other guy or the other girl. And that's brutal, man. That's not safe. Does that make sense? Like, because then a guy's like, why is she so emotional? Like, what's wrong with her? Like, or for her, like, why is he not safe? Or what's wrong with her? Why is it has actually nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their past. That they never actually worked through and got back to at least some type of a balanced spot, in a balanced place. There's residue there that affects the next relationship. And that's important. Oh man, I have so much more to give you. But we're going to have to wait. Let me... if you're like, I'm dating and I have a strong relationship. Okay, I would encourage you this. Don't date alone. Here's what I mean by that. Let mentors in. You want to put your relationship to the test? Okay? Because you're like, no, we're strong, we're good. Is anyone speaking into your life? Because I would say this to you even if you were married. Even if you were married, I'd be like, what kind of couples are in your life? Not your person who's right next to you who's doing the same thing you're doing. Mentors. That you can look at and be like, I trust that person, I trust that relationship, speak into my relationship. I would encourage you to put it on the line and see how you're actually doing. Ask for advice, ask for feedback. Those are important things. Should I give you these? Yeah, I'll give you these real quick. Friend zone. Wow. Listen, I think sometimes I relate those to like the whole like situationship, like whatever that means. So stupid. One person crosses over the line and the other one stays over here in the friend zone. Like, we're just friends. You get put in the friend zone. Or the opposite person crossed, but you didn't. You stay behind and you put them in the friend zone. It's just a big flirt fest, or the dials are getting fed, but no commitment is wanted. No commitment is really there. Listen, you have to call this out. You must call it out. You must not stay there. Like, that's not a safe place to be, because you're just going to hurt each other. And yes, it will be awkward. Yes, it will be tough to confront it. But you must guard your heart. I've been telling you that since night one. Protect yourself in these spaces. Especially you ladies. If a guy's just leading you on, just messing with your head, you are way more valuable than that. So you gotta speak up. Be like, I'm good. Like, this friendship cannot continue. We need to go back to the start. Strangers, because in a way, at least somebody did cross over, and these dials got turned up, even if it was a little bit. So if you're coming back, remember, you can't just come back to friends. You gotta come back to the start, even if it was only you who crossed that line. Friends with benefits, you know how I feel about that. Don't do that crap. It just messes you up. The last thing I'll say is this, because you guys gotta go. Cheaters. Just run. Honestly, listen, I get this a lot from girls in these types of settings. Like when we do the panels next week, it pops up, why do guys cheat? It comes up all the time. There's a lot of insecurity there, there's a lot of selfishness there. And let me tell you this, if you are with somebody who has cheated on you, or you're contemplating being somebody who has cheated, listen, especially in your world, in your high school world, I will almost 100% guarantee you they do not have the maturity in multiple of these places, if not all of these places, to overcome that. So don't try to play the I'm gonna fix him card, or well, he cheated on her because it's not me. Don't do that. Don't start playing that game. Because there's a lot of brokenness there, and he needs to go just deal with God. And you gotta run and you gotta say goodbye. Because there's just a lot of toughness there. And if you have more questions about that, we can talk about it. We can go on forever. We got a break. So there's a phone number. Is the phone number ready? Do we know? No. Okay, on Sunday, we're going to post, listen, on Sunday, we're going to post a phone number that we want you to ask questions. You're going to have a guy panel or a girl panel. You're going to have both at a certain time next Wednesday to literally ask whatever you want. Just know that the sex questions or anything like that, we're going to save them for the couples the week after that. But we will answer your questions. So you can post those, send those, start sending those on Sunday. If you don't have a life group, come talk to me. The rest of you, go to your life groups.